Hello, and welcome to Own Your Retirement. My name is Albert Lalonde from Kaizen Financial Inc. If you'd like more information about what you hear during our show today, give us a call at 586-752-7008 or visit us online at www.kaizenfinancialinc.com. That's Kaizen, Kaizen. And while at my website, click on my podcast page to check out our past shows and to subscribe to our program on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. All right. So during today's episode, we'll be utilizing a recent Kiplinger article that has the headline titled 7 Practical Steps to Kick Off Your 2026 Financial Planning. Now, as 2025 draws to a close, a lot of families are doing more than just glancing at their portfolios. They're looking beyond the numbers to think about what those numbers mean for their lives, their goals, and their loved ones. So for a long time, we believe financial success was mostly measured in performance, outpacing benchmarks, growing net worth, and maximizing returns. But the landscape has shifted. Now that the One Big Beautiful Bill Act has, settled some key tax questions, and with inflation still cutting into buying power, many people are asking something a bit deeper. Do our financial strategies still reflect the kind of life we want to live? Now, that's a fair question. With the estate tax exemption now set at $15 million for 2026, a lot of uncertainty has finally lifted, but still, that clarity doesn't make the rest of the picture simple. So rising costs, unpredictable borrowing rates, and constant political headlines can make it tough to feel truly confident about the future. Well, it's kind of like trying to plan a picnic, let's say. You finally pick the perfect day, and then the weather changes. So that's what it's like. So before we get started, let me bring in my co-host, someone who's always, let's say, prepared for the financial weather forecast, Tony Shore. How we doing, Tony?
Yeah, and we were just talking about how the weather's starting to turn here.
Yes.
We've got cold rain that's going to probably lead to some sleet and snow coming up here within the next few days. I think we're going to get maybe a little bit of that. We'll see. But a lot of our listeners know exactly what you mean. I mean, between new laws, inflation, and uncertainty in the markets, it really does feel like the right moment to just pause and make sure our financial strategies match our priorities going into the new year. But before we get into that, Albert, we were talking before the show, man, Detroit pulled one out there this last weekend. The Lions last weekend. We'll see how they do. By the time people hear this, it'll be Thanksgiving or after, and they'll have played again already. So we'll have to see. And my Vikings are terrible right now, so I guess it's I'll have to focus on the Lions and hope they do well.
It's a crucial game on Thanksgiving Day, unfortunately. I mean, with got Green Bay and everything up in the air still for taking the divisional spot, but we shall see. Chicago's doing well, but this is
can you believe the Bears are the team to beat? No one saw that coming.
Our last year's offensive coordinator, just saying.
Yeah, true. This is true. That's what they've got going for them.
This is the perfect time to watch all this football, Thanksgiving, eating turkey, just relaxing. So I'm excited. And then guess what?
What?
Next week's December.
Stop. Let's enjoy what we have now. Thanksgiving weekend. And what are you doing for Thanksgiving, Albert? Doing anything
I will be
exciting?
at the game watching
That's
Green
right.
Bay. It's my ritual. I do it every year for almost 20 years now.
Wow, that's awesome. I wish I could be at that game. That's going to be a fun one on
It will
Thanksgiving
be.
Day.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So today's episode, we're going to utilize the Kiplinger article I mentioned earlier, titled 7 Practical Steps to Kick Off Your 2026 Financial Planning.
Okay. Yeah. And, one thing that did stand out to me here, Albert, when we're preparing for today's episode is how you've been talking lately about aligning wealth with life. What does that actually mean in practice, though?
That's a great question. For a long time, people have viewed financial success mostly through the lens of, let's say, numbers, returns, tax savings, or hitting certain net worth goals. But real success isn't just about how much you accumulate. It's about whether your money's actually supporting the kind of life you want to live.
So it's not just about spreadsheets and account balances, it's actually about purpose, is
Us,
what you're
yes,
saying.
well stated, yes. And I'll give you an example. The article highlights a financial services professional who recently worked with a couple in their second marriage. Now, each had children from previous relationships, and their big concern was making sure their estate didn't accidentally cause conflict down the road. So they wanted to provide each other during their lifetimes, but also make sure assets went down to their own children and grandchildren as they intended.
So yeah, that's a situation a lot of blended families, like the Brady Bunch,
Yes,
can relate
yes.
to, trying to take care of everyone fairly without creating tension. Whether you have a traditional family or a blended family, that can be a problem, but for everyone,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes. And remember, there's no single formula for that. In fact, for this example, in their case, they used a trust that gave each spouse financial security while ensuring their legacies were preserved for the right heirs. Now, what stood out wasn't just a technical design, it was the increased financial confidence it gave them. They could finally stop worrying about the what if scenarios and start focusing on, guess what? Enjoying life together.
That's what it's all about, and that's powerful. I mean, it
Mhm.
sounds like what they really gained there, wasn't just more thorough enhanced planning, but confidence and clarity.
Yes, and that sense of confidence is what many clients are ultimately seeking. Many people build wealth and then realize the numbers alone don't create the fulfillment. The turning point usually comes when they start asking, "What is this money really for?"
Right, and the answers to that question are probably different for everybody, right? I mean, we're all
Yes.
different.
They are. And for some, it's about, let's say, making memories with family by, let's say, traveling, celebrating milestones, or spending more time together. And then for others, it's about supporting a cause, maybe, or helping future generations get started on the right foot. When wealth aligns with purpose, and I want to add value, the strategy becomes more than financial, it becomes deeply personal.
Right, it does, but money can be tricky,
Hmm.
obviously, and,
Hmm.
families don't always see eye to eye on these things, do they?
That is so true there, Tony. In fact, spouses often have different money stories based on how they grew up. Now, one might value saving, the other might see money as a tool for enjoyment. Children, too, may assume their parents' assets are an inheritance waiting for them instead of a resource meant to support the parents' own goals.
Right, so the key here, and as with most things, and I see this is where families fail, especially with finances, and that's communication. The key is communicate. You got to talk to each other, right?
Oh my gosh, that is so big for sure. Having, let's say, open, honest conversations, whether that's a casual talk at the dinner table or let's say a structured family meeting, can really make all the difference. Explaining why certain decisions are being made helps reduce the uncertainty and builds trust, even if not every detail is shared yet.
Yeah, you know what? I think that it's not just about family harmony here, Albert. That financial stress, it can take a toll on your health and happiness. If you can eliminate that financial stress by having a plan in place and working with somebody like you, it just helps all across the board, doesn't it?
It does. And remember, you're not promised tomorrow. And this is what I see this so often. People who overwork to accumulate more or overspend trying to keep up appearances sometimes ends up sacrificing their well-being. And when your financial choices line up with, let's say, your values, whether that's education, travel, philanthropy, spiritual, or simply just slowing down to enjoy life, you may not only create more stability, but also a richer, healthier quality of life.
Yeah, and quality of life is huge, and I think that's a great reminder because money is a tool, not a trophy. You've always said that, Albert.
I completely agree. Yes. And when you treat it that way, it becomes easier to build a strategy that serves your life instead of the other way around.
Yeah. Well, and I let's talk about turning all of this that you've been discussing. You've given us a lot to think about. How do we turn this into action? I mean,
Mm.
for people who are thinking, okay, I get it. I want my finances to align with my life and my goals. but where should they start? What do they do next?
Well, that's a great question. And because redefining financial success isn't just about mindset, it's about putting a few intentional steps in place as we head into 2026. So, a little reflection combined with some clear action can bring a lot of clarity, both in your goals and in how you communicate those goals with your family.
Sounds good. So what's step one?
Yep. Start by clarifying your values. Like I said earlier, this is an exercise that we do with all of our clients in the very first meeting that we have with them. We want to understand their values. Now, it sounds simple, but it's one of the most powerful things you can do. Take a few minutes to actually write down the principles that guide your financial decisions. Things like family, security, charitable giving, lifestyle goals, or even leaving a legacy. What we tell for most of our folks is that you want to figure out what is your top 5 most important values to you. And remember, if you're a husband and wife, you each have your own values and you need to identify your own and then see how much did we compare with each other.
Right. And that's huge. So it's almost like creating a mission statement for your money, right?
Exactly. And that list becomes your personal filter for every financial choice you make. So when you know what truly matters most, it's much easier to align your strategy, say yes or no to opportunities with confidence.
Yeah, and it takes the pressure off. You don't want to chase every new idea or market swing,
Right.
and that would this brings the focus back to purpose instead, right?
Oh, yeah, I think that's right. And when purpose drives strategy, you're not just reacting to what happens now, you're steering your financial life with intention.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And so, step one then is about clarifying your values
Mhm.
and what matters most. What comes next?
Well, step two is to prioritize your objectives. Once you got that list of values, it's time to separate must haves from your nice to haves.
So it's like building a financial version of a grocery list, is what you're saying,
Yes.
right? Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, because some things are essentials and other things are just good to have if there's room in the cart, right?
You got it.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, funding your children's education or maintaining long term financial security might be non negotiable. But a vacation home or a luxury upgrades might fall into the nice to have category. Now, both can be meaningful, but they shouldn't compete for the same dollars.
That makes sense. I mean, if you tried to chase every goal at once, it would be easy to lose sight of what's
Oh,
most
gosh.
important. Yeah.
And prioritizing helps prevent those competing goals from derailing your whole strategy. And it's
Yeah.
not about cutting dreams. Remember that. It's about sequencing them in a way that keeps your strategy realistic and sustainable.
Yeah. And it's probably a lot less stressful too.
Absolutely. And when you know which goals comes first, think about it. Your decisions get simpler and your progress feels a lot more, again, intentional.
Well, right. And before we keep going, though, I think now would be a good time to let listeners know how they could schedule a no charge, no obligation consultation with you, Albert. Maybe if they have questions or need help
Yeah.
adjusting their financial strategy.
Yes, folks, if you would like to learn more about your plan and for 2026, just give us a call, 586-752-7008, or just visit us online at www.kaizenfinancialinc.com. And then, guys, it's easy. Just call the office. We'll make an easy schedule and talk about what your objectives and values are.
All right. Well, hey, so far you've clarified that the values and talked about setting priorities. What's the third step?
Well, define your legacy. And
Hmm.
this one often sparks the deepest conversation.
Okay. So, and by legacy, just so we're all on the same page, you mean who gets what after you're gone or?
That's part of it, but it's actually broader than that, Tony. Legacy isn't just about who inherits your assets. It's about how you want to be remembered and what impact you hope to leave behind.
So it's more like the story that people will tell about you, not just the balance sheet.
Yes. And for some, that might mean creating family traditions that carry on through generations. For others, it could be supporting a charity, mentoring, let's say, the next generation, or maybe even establishing a trust that continues to make a difference long after they're gone.
I love that perspective because it turns building a strategy from something that's purely financial into something more meaningful and lasting.
That's the goal. When you define your legacy intentionally, your wealth becomes more than numbers and now becomes a reflection of your values and your life's purpose.
Wow. Well, so we've clarified values,
Mhm.
set priorities, and now defined legacy. That's a great list already. What's next? What's
Well,
step 4?
step four is to engage with the financial services professional. And this is where everything may start to come together.
And by that, you mean somebody who looks at more than just investment performance, right?
Exactly. In fact, a financial service professional doesn't just focus on your portfolio's returns. They, in fact, help you look at the full picture: taxes, enhanced planning, insurance needs, even family dynamics. All of those factors affect your overall well being and long term confidence.
Right. Kind of like a financial quarterback.
Oh,
It's like having a financial that's you, Albert. You're the Goff of the financial
uh
world.
oh.
Oh, well, hopefully even better than that, right?
I hope. Compared to
So,
lately, how he's been
uh,
playing.
yeah,
But that's a great analogy. You're right. You want an advisor who asks questions that go beyond numbers. Things like, what does security mean to you? Or how do your financial choices reflect your values? When an advisor understands both your goals and your motivations, they can build a strategy that truly supports your life.
yeah. I think that's huge. And as a fiduciary, you're looking
Mhm.
out for your client's best interests and the people you meet with. So it sounds like an experienced financial services professional like yourself becomes not just a strategist, but a guide, like a
Oh,
Sherpa if
yeah.
you
Yeah.
wanted to climb up Mount Everest, right?
That's exactly right.
And
And,
back down.
yes, got to get back down. That's the
Yeah.
hardest part, actually.
Yeah.
The best strategy building relationships are, well, collaborative. So it's about working together. You bring your vision, they bring the expertise to help make that vision work in real life. That's what my job is, basically.
Yeah. Okay. So work with a fiduciary or an FSP like yourself.
Mhm.
So we've made it to step 5. What's this piece of the puzzle going to be?
Well, step five is to now schedule a family conversation. Now, it might sound
Communication.
simple,
Yep.
yes, but it's one of the most meaningful steps you can take.
You mean I actually have to sit down with my spouse and family members and talk through these strategies?
You nailed it. Yes.
Okay, good.
Now,
Yeah.
bring your spouse, your kids, or even future heirs into the discussion. Not
Yep.
necessary to share every number or document, but to talk about what matters most to you. And then that one conversation can ease a lot of tension and prevent misunderstandings later on.
Yeah, again, like we mentioned earlier, communication is key. And I
Mhm.
think it helps set expectations as well so that people aren't surprised or guessing at your
Yes.
intentions. I mean, I saw this happen with my grandpa Bob. He had the best intentions, but there was some confusion that caused some family disharmony
Yeah.
after he passed because he wasn't clear on some things.
And you know what? It happens a lot too.
Yeah.
When families talk openly about priorities, values, and their goals, it builds better understanding. And everyone gets on the same page, which makes it much easier to preserve harmony when the time comes to put those strategies into action.
Yeah, and those conversations don't have to be formal or
Mhm.
awkward. I think they could just happen over a dinner or during a family gathering, right?
That's right, exactly. In fact, the setting doesn't matter nearly as much as the message. So, here's what's important to me, and here's why. That's what you basically want them to understand. And those are the conversations that strengthen relationships and give such financial strategies lasting meaning.
All right. Well, that's a good one. Communication with the family. Now it's on to step 6. What's that one?
Well, step six is to check your alignment annually. Putting the plan, getting your values, setting your goals and objectives, communicating, those are all good, but you got to keep planning every year. It's not just set it and forget it. And this is part of where many people overlook, but it's really where long term success happens.
So it's kind of like your car or your own health, like a yearly checkup for your
Yes.
financial health.
Yes,
Yeah.
and at least once a year. And then, like, take some time too to revisit your goals and see how they line up with your current financial strategy. Life changes and tax law shifts, markets
Mhm.
move, family priorities even evolve, and your strategy should always be evolving as well.
Oh, for sure. That makes sense. And even the best
Mhm.
strategy can drift off course if it's not properly aligned and reviewed regularly,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And those annual reviews, like I said, they don't have to be complicated. They're pretty much simply an opportunity to ask, is this strategy still serving the life I want to live? If the answer is yes, great. If not, you make the necessary adjustments with your financial service professional, and then you keep moving forward with confidence.
So really it's not about perfection, it's about staying intentional.
Bingo. And it's about staying engaged too. So think about that. So your strategy remains, let's say, a living, breathing reflection of your goals, not just a stack of papers, let's say, in your drawer or in your file book.
So what's the final step then in this
Uh,
process, Albert?
Step 7, well, is to watch for red flags. And these can show up in ways that have nothing to do with the numbers on a statement. Okay.
So what kind of red flags should people look
Uh,
for?
Things like tense or, let's say, avoided family conversations about money or stress that starts to affect your health and financial confidence. And another big one is when you can't clearly answer the question, what is this money really for? If you're not sure, that's a sign it's time to pause and realign.
So it's not always about catching mistakes, it's
Mhm.
also or more so about staying self-aware and being
That is
aware of these
correct.
things,
That is
yeah.
definitely correct because none of this is about perfection. It's about being intentional, like we've been saying all throughout this podcast. And the goal isn't just to grow the largest portfolio, it's to create a financial life that helps support your well being today and in the years ahead.
And I like that. It's success defined by confidence about the future, not just performance.
Yes, and as we step into 2026, it's worth redefining financial success in broader terms with things like family harmony, health, fulfillment, and legacy. So when your financial strategies align with those priorities, wealth becomes more than a measure of success. It becomes a tool for building a more meaningful and balanced life.
Right. I like that, a balanced life.
Mhm.
So we've talked a lot about reflection and alignment today, but let's say somebody's been managing their finances on their own up to this
Mhm.
point, maybe using online tools or just doing their own research, watching YouTube videos, what have you. Why might 2026 be the right time to start working with somebody like yourself, a financial services professional?
That's a great question, and I'm gonna say this, a lot of people have done a solid job managing things independently, especially with all the digital tools that are out there. But 2026 is shaping up to be a year of transition, between new tax structures under the one big beautiful bill act, potential changes in interest rates, and evolving estate laws. The financial landscape is getting a bit more complex, and having a financial services professional by your side, well, it can help you navigate all that with a lot more confidence.
Well, and that's what it's all about, because it's not just about managing investments anymore. It's about keeping up with everything that affects those investments. We're talking about healthcare costs. We're talking about Social Security maximization, taxes, inflation. There are so many moving parts. I can't fathom. There's no way you're going to do that and not make costly mistakes
Yeah. And remember,
if you try to do it on your own.
yep. And an experienced financial service professional also just remember doesn't just look at the returns. They look at the full picture, your goals, your family, your tax exposure, even your stress level around money. For someone stepping into this kind of relationship for the first time, 2026 could be the ideal moment for you to start fresh with a strategy that reflects where life and the laws are actually headed.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess a lot of people probably hesitate because they think they need to have a certain amount of wealth before it makes sense, right?
And that's probably a very common misconception. The right time to seek advice isn't when you've made it, folks, but when your financial life starts to feel more complex than if you want to manage it alone. So maybe you've changed jobs, started a business, inherited assets, or you're just trying to balance saving, spending, and giving wisely. A financial service professional can help simplify all of those complexities.
Right. And probably provide an extra dose of confidence for you too,
Yes.
right?
Oh, for sure. And having someone who understands your goals and values and keeps you accountable to them can actually relieve a lot of the pressure. It's about building a partnership that keeps your strategy adaptable as life evolves.
Yeah. Well, and if you haven't been working with a financial services professional, now is probably an ideal time to start building that foundation then.
It is. And it's a chance to move from hoping your strategy works to knowing it's built to support the life you wanted.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Albert, great show today. A lot of great information. So before we go, make sure you let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you. I know you love talking to the folks. You
Hmm.
and your staff do such a great job there, helping answer any financial questions they have, and they can set up that no charge, no obligation consultation. How can they
Yes.
reach out to you?
Folks, if you have questions about retirement and your financial strategy, just visit my website, please, at www.kaizenfinancialinc.com. Kaizen, Kaizen, or call my office at 586-752-7008. We'd love to help you protect your savings and feel confident about the road ahead so that you can own your retirement.
All right, that sounds great. And that does it for today's episode of Own Your Retirement with our host, Albert Lalonde.
Take care, everyone.